Hello, everyone. I welcome you to another workshop. This one, friends, is directly catering to my niche, which is to coach emerging women leaders to navigate power dynamics and manage office politics. This first episode, I have titled it as Enjoy Life because today, what I have come to you with is actually a slice from an assignment that I did with one of my clients. And through that, even though it was about helping her navigate the power dynamics at her office and specifically in the complex project that she was in, today what I bring to you is not about that. It is a subset of one very important area that she was missing in her life, and the reason why she found herself stuck in the office politics. So today's session would actually address that gap. So when she was able to fill in that gap, she found herself to be in a much more calmer space, which then helped her look at things from a very different perspective. So I'm sure, just like her, if you are somewhere in your role that you find you are caught up or you're stuck in your career because of the office politics, which again is an interplay of many things from influence to relationships to demanding clients to managing with tact our difficult bosses, sometimes irrational bosses, and also some subordinates, which can be a bit of a challenge. And when we find ourselves stuck in such situations, what is it that we could do besides managing the office politics? And this is what you will learn in our session today. So we start with a story, and today I bring to you the story of Shipra. Shipra is my client. She is a woman leader with more than 15 years of work experience. She is caught up with an issue in regards to office politics. However, the biggest issue at hand for Shipra right now is she's part of a team which is uh, going through a very difficult phase. There are some deep there are some issues in her team right now, particularly to do with office politics. So when we met, our assignment was about helping her deal with office politics, which was about a deep conflict with her key stakeholder. It was a global project, and this conflict was quite complex. Uh, Shipra has been into this firm. She's quite successful. However, in the present uh, role that she's in, along with the complexities of the project, she is kind of find herself a bit sandwiched between two global leaders. And there's a lot more to it. I mean, it's a very, very complicated issue, so to say. And we are not going to discuss that here. This one is about Shipra, who's a woman leader, 15 years of work experience. But right now, despite her success, a point has come where for Shipra, it is taking a toll on her mental health. Even though she has always been quite smart and politically intelligent of dealing with such clients in her past, as on today, she feels that she is running low on energy and not really being able to take it anymore. So, just to add here, in addition, I have mentioned certain things. This is to let you know that there has been some traumatic past that Shipra has been through. There's an element of unresolved grief, and she's a very highly sensitive person. But she has always been politically intelligent and quite successful. However, at this point in time, she is running low on energy. And it is it's quite normal for most of us to be in a situation that Shipra is, because as humans, it is not necessarily that regardless of how politically or intelligent or tactful we are, there would come a time where we may not really be able to take it anymore, specifically at our workspace, and on account of which our work suffers because there's something in our personal life that has created a huge void inside us, a kind of emotional distress. And unless we address that, we don't find ourselves really having that motivation and energy to deal with issues in the office space. This is very close to what Shipra was going through. And while I was coaching her on this office politics thing, we're very close to um, achieving her goals. What I found when I was constantly reading the narratives that Shipra would share and the tools that we do together, that there was something amiss. And I also realized that it was taking more than the required time for Shipra to really move up the speed in regards to putting things into action when it comes to uh, working on the strategies of managing the office politics, which she was not really able to. And then where I moved the coaching direction into kind of tweaked it and worked on a very different area, completely different from office politics, and which in the long run really helped both me and Shipra find a breakthrough. And this is precisely the reason why I bring this session to you, because I think just like Shipra, you will also be equally benefited from watching this video and practicing what I'm about to share with you. So this was the story of Shipra so far. Now, before we really get into the methods, which I think I've already shared before, but nevertheless, for this session, let's first take a step back and understand the science of happiness. Because most of us, while we all want to be happy, be in a state of calm, what we do not really know that how this is created in our mind. What really happens in our brain, the main organ, which is responsible for this state of mind where we feel happy, content, peaceful, or in a state where we are quite motivated. So let's spend some time here. I'll try to make it as simple as possible so that next time when you are actually getting into the practice of cultivating happiness, you are aware of what you are doing to your mind. So friends, before you is this is our brain, our organ, and inside this, the one highlighted in the color purple, is the area of brain which is called the basal ganglia. You could see the in the below diagram as well. And this part is part of our limbic system. So this particular part of our brain is responsible to release key neurochemicals, which are dopamine, epinephrine, and opioids like endorphins. Now, these three neurochemicals usually are released in our body through our brain, which is through basal ganglia, when we are in a state of mind which brings us happiness, joy, or a pleasant state. These circuits in basal ganglia, they help us when they release this, they help us prioritize, they help us pursue actions that makes us feel rewarding. And the neuroepinephrine helps us stay alert and engaged. Endorphins help us calm our body and also reduce our physical and emotional pain. So these three key neurochemicals are acting like a first aid, or rather, I should say, uh, they're creating inside our mind and through our mind in our entire being, in our entire nervous system, entire body, uh, expanding from head to toe to all our organs, a state of protection, safety, feeling good, pleasant experiences. And when we are in such states, here's where all our organs work in the most healthiest of manners, because each of our neurons in our brain are connected to every part, every cell in our body, and every organ, and they speak to each other. That's the way uh, uh, a miracle in itself, how beautifully our brain is kind of designed. So, in order to our brain to release these neurochemicals, which do not really happen automatically, but it happens when we get into such states, that such states of pleasantness, of happiness. But then, how do we really get into that? Well, we'll come to that in a minute from now. But understand that these neurochemicals are your safeguards. They are acting like those security guards which are protecting you, promoting your well being, including your immunity function, and also your state of mind, which is why you are supported and protected against various mental health ailments, including depression, or getting into a state of disorder where your state of mind is either fluctuating, which usually happens in bipolar cases, or for that matter, feeling completely low, the way it happens with people suffering from chronic clinical depression. Now, having understood this about these neurochemicals, let's understand one of the most key fundamental aspect of the way our brain works. Since our brain has evolved from a very from eons, or I should say billions of years, our primal uh, mode on which our brain operate is safety. This is the main goal and aim of our brain, to always keep us safe and protected. And that is the reason why we are hardwired to, and this applies to every person on the planet Earth, where our human brain always think in a negative way and for anything. So let's say you are in a neutral, normal situation. However, a slight change in it can trigger a set of negative thoughts in your head. The negative thoughts may not be really very seriously negative, but to really think in a positive way, we have to break the DMN, which stands for default mode network, which means that our brain is hardwired to first protect ourselves, and that is the reason why we always first think in a negative sense. And to really think in a positive way, we have to put in conscious effort. And this now brings us to that these three neurochemicals do not come in creating a positive or a healthy state by itself. We have to create it. And that is the reason why, if just the way I had helped Shipra, if you really want to change your state of mind, you find yourself not so motivated, not so engaged with your work, not the way she used to constantly complain that I feel low on energy, I don't feel like working, and I'm sick and tired of this whole thing, despite a streak of success in the past. Sometimes these neurochemicals are what are lacking inside our brain. And then, if we really want these neurochemicals from the basal ganglia to release into our body and to get ourselves into those states of feeling motivated, engaged, and reward, we need to practice certain tools. One of the most powerful, effective, and in fact, the most simplest of that is the practice of gratitude. It might sound quite simple and unbelievable in case this was for me, in fact, when I first started this 7 years ago. I never thought, but I have firsthand witnessed changes in my own physical and mental health when I have consciously made it a point to include gratitude in my life. So I gave Shipra this technique and I asked her that, Shipra, you could start with just writing 3 things or 5 things you're grateful for, either first thing in the morning or before you sleep. And through this, one of the most simplest exercise, you're taking your first step in developing and creating an attitude of gratitude. The very reason for that, as I just mentioned, our brain is hardwired for negativity. So when in life we are exposed to negative events, like the way Shipra was she would spend half of the time in her office, and she is impacted by the environment, people, her own low energy, the politics going on, and she felt very drained out, not really interested to even navigate that power dynamics, because her basal ganglia was somewhere, perhaps was lacking in these neurochemicals. And to really cultivate that, to bring herself into that mode, the brain would constantly feed her with that negativity bias. So to step out of that and to cultivate it, she needs to practice certain things. And she started with practicing gratitude. So this is one of the most simplest thing, but friends, I suggest go for it and you can thank me later for it. Next was to be mindful and to enjoy every moment. Again, mindfulness is a huge topic, but I just want to tell you one thing here, the one that I shared with Shipra. There's nothing that we can do about past. It's already gone. And there's nothing that we can do about the future, which is uncertain. And this is a universal principle that applies to each one of us. Regardless of which position we are, we could be a billionaire, an entrepreneur, or just somebody who's starting out, somebody who's been through office politics several times, or just not willing to fight it, just like Shipra. Whoever we are, time works in the same way for each one of us. So another method after gratitude, if we cultivate this, here's where we are breaking the DMN, the default mode network, and creating mindful presence, whatever we are doing, just being present there and enjoying it. And this is something you have to cultivate. The conscious effort you put in to find the best out of the worst will actually push your basal ganglia to release those neurochemicals, automatically bringing you into a state of protection, safeguarding you, and also increasing your rewards level, motivation level, your engagement levels, and which then helps you slowly pick up this approach and cultivate a state of mind that's very helpful, but also builds your inner strength. And that's how also resiliency is built. Finally, when I gave Shipra this enjoy every moment, I explained to her that how one can do that, even though there's no rocket science here. It's just that we need to figure out, since each one of us have our own unique life pattern and structure, our experiences are also different. So for Shipra, I said it could be anything. Look for the little joys of life. And it's one of the most powerful way to care for yourself. Things Think about some of the things you enjoy. And I gave her my example. In fact, I have a series of little joys of life where I share my childhood cherished memories and even from my present life. However, for me, being in nature, enjoying reading, including smelling coffee or seeing a blade of grass itself is like something that I really enjoy. In fact, I enjoy my silent afternoons. I enjoy my short snap when the snack which my mom makes, and it's one of my favorites. So it could be anything. And I asked Shipra to kind of use the same example and look for things that she enjoyed. When she start to look for things, the brain automatically start to search things for her. And this is the way you rewire your brain. So you're being grateful. So you're directing your brain to look for things which you are grateful. Obviously, you will never be grateful for things which are negative in nature. You will be grateful for things that bring you pleasant experiences and good stuff. So That's one way you're rewiring your brain to look for the positive and you're breaking your DMN, default mode network. Similarly, in each moment, think about what is it you enjoy and indulge in. And believe me, friends, when you do this, this might, as you're listening to me, might sound simple, but try it and you'll be amazed by the internal transformation it's going to bring to you. Finally, I gave her this Tibetan proverb, which I'm also sharing with you here. If you take care of the minutes, the years will take care of themselves. This actually emphasizes on that if we stop looking for those great, highly achievable moments, which might come or may not come, for that project with that successful launch or for that award or for that title, instead of chasing that, which is quite uncertain, just like our future, if we start to look for little things that could bring us joy, we will be equally able to not only rewire our mind and get into a positive state, but will be resilient enough to navigate any challenge at our workspace, including the murky, dirty office politics. I close this with what I actually shared with Shipra. This is a this is something that I think I've already done this in few of my previous videos. I told her this was taught to me by my mindfulness teacher. Bloom wherever you are planted. I asked Shipra, have you ever seen a flower next to another flower, competing with it or feeling resentful? No. Each one of these beautiful flowers through nature offer us a deep lesson, which is to bloom in our own space and space where wherever we are planted. This mindset shift brought a phenomenal change in her. And today, as on today, this was a year ago, she is just acing it. So I'm sure, friends, with this little story of Shipra and its correlation between office politics, resiliency, the science of happiness, you would not commit the mistakes that she was doing and try and cultivate this little, small, tiny, but very powerful techniques that will take you places. Thank you.